Give me fire, give me that which I desire. Welcome to the long take. I am your co-host, Ken Guidry, alongside me via a laptop in his own humble abode is the indomitable Justyn Moore. Say hello.
I can't say anything after you open the show like that.
I'm sorry, I had that in my... I forgot to warn you. I was gonna...
No, I'm glad you did.
I wanted to do it like a reporter would talk. Like, give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Hello, I'm Ken Guidry, and the preceding lyrics are from, of course, Metallica's Fuel, which is off their Reload album, I believe. Or is it Load? I can't remember now. Anyway, what
Reload.
We're going to talk about today is Jurassic World. I saw this movie Thursday night. Little did I know that this would wind up becoming the biggest opening weekend for a movie worldwide. We're talking here, not just in this country. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how the exact figures are. I haven't looked it up, and I don't really care about it. I know that the worldwide figures. I don't care. But I know the worldwide dollar figure is $511.8 million. That's a lot of money. That's $500 million in a weekend. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates couldn't dream of making that much money in 3 days. He probably has. But so I saw the movie Thursday night. Justyn saw the movie yesterday afternoon. Mm-hmm. So Justyn, why don't you give me your anticipation for the movie? Right. I know it wasn't very much, but go into that. Go into your feelings going into the movie. Yeah. And then you saw the product. What did you think of the product?
Yeah, that's a good place to start, because from the beginning, from the first trailer that I saw, like, I was already rolling my eyes at the trailer, you know? I was kind of like, oh, here we go. Because I'd heard the story about how this was something that Universal was trying to do, but the idea was just too ludicrous, and they scrapped it. They had something along the lines of, like, human-dinosaur hybrids, super soldiers, things like that they wanted to do, like, 2005 or something. And luckily, they decided that was too dumb for the American audience, the world audience. So they scrapped that and got back to work. So I saw the trailer, and I was just, I don't know. Would you say we're spoiled? We grew up on Jurassic Park, you know? We grew up on Steven Spielberg having, 20 years of experience under his belt making movies, taking on this genre, this dinosaurs scaring the pants off of little boys and little girls. I don't know.
So how did you feel? How did you feel going in? Was there anything that you liked about it? I mean, was there anything that? Well, yeah. Anything that excited you?
Because I was really, really skeptical, right? And then I heard about the insane weekend that it had. So I'm thinking, it kind of gets my curiosity going a little bit. Like, what is going on here? Maybe there's something that I wasn't thinking about. And then the more people that I talked to, the more people that I asked about it, said that they really, really liked it. So by the end of work Monday, I went into it. I started at like 4:00 on Monday afternoon after work. I was ready to go. I was excited, and I was ready to go. Sat down and went along for the ride, and then I don't know. It didn't take long for me to kind of just be like, well, okay, this is about what I expected, you know.
It's funny how you should mention kind of the disconnect between your personal reaction with the film and generally people's very enthusiastic reactions going into this past weekend. For me, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to see this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a little bit jaded on Jurassic Park by the time the third film came out. I loved the first two. Oh, I really liked the first one, and the second one may have went into crazy town during the last act.
We were really young when 2 came out, so I think it took us a while to realize, oh, this isn't as great as I thought it was, or something. It wasn't
as great, but I mean, like, it's still Spielberg. It's still got some great stuff. I think it still has great stuff in the first I
agree.
hour or so. You know what I mean? Especially the opening, right? Wasn't it the little girl who gets eaten up by those cute little
compies?
Yeah. And I've heard people say that it's more grittier a little bit. It's more because the first Jurassic Park, when it begins, it's about the wonder. You're seeing these dinosaurs for the first time. For The Lost World, you don't really have that because the first one already came out, so you can't really double up on the wonder. You kind of have to find a different way to tell a story. And I think what Spielberg did was kind of make it more of the monster elements, kind of bring that to the forefront. So it was less about the wonder and more about the carnage.
Well, that's true, but the first one did open with the murder before you even saw the dinosaur.
That's true.
I think right from the get-go, this is something to be feared.
Mm-hmm. So with the fourth one, Jurassic World, going into it, there was a lot of skepticism on my end because you look at the trailer and you're like, so they reopened this park, and in the movie you find out it is 22 years later. It's not like 100 years. Mm-hmm. It's not in the future. This is 22 years later.
Yeah.
And apparently that's a long enough time for a park to reopen, for people to become interested in the park, to completely take their trust and their money and stay there. And apparently it's been open long enough that teenagers who may have once been amazed by these dinosaurs have now become jaded to the point where they don't even look at they're staring at their phones instead of even looking at the dinosaurs. And because of that, the people behind Jurassic World have to create this even bigger, crazier, more intelligent for some reason. It has to be more intelligent. For what reason, I'm not sure, but that was the impetus for creating the Indomitable Rex, a creation they weren't aware could possibly go wrong until the movie starts, which is, that's quite something right there. But going into it, so I had my reservations, and they didn't change while watching the movie, but I will say this before we start picking it apart one by one. When it came down to brass tacks, when it came down to, the I-Rex getting loose, or the, in my opinion, spectacular sequence with the dino birds coming in, swooping. It was like a update on Hitchcock's The Birds. these birds swooping up and just terrorizing everybody. I thought that was a pretty fantastic sequence, Justin. I mean, even I wasn't feeling too hot about the movie, but when that sequence that came out and when it was over,
yeah,
I was like, that was pretty badass. I mean, there were some moments where I was like, okay, I can kind of get with that, And even though I kind of scoff when you saw Chris Pratt riding with the Velociraptors in the trailer,
yeah,
the moments building up to that sequence was also kind of cool. There's a lot of things about this movie that was cool or badass. The problem is I wasn't emotionally involved with any of the scenes because you could see the mechanics from the beginning. You could see where things are going to go wrong when Vincent D'Onofrio, he plays the human bad guy, mm-hmm, the guy who wants to, and we'll go into this further when we break this down plot by plot, plot point by plot point, because there's so much about this film that's so bad. But to stick with what was his name? General something.
General Bad Guy.
Yeah.
General Everyman. every bad guy ever.
He wants to take these velociraptors and use them for the military, which is capital dumb idea. It's the dumbest idea. Could never work. And yet, there he is, like... And you know what's going to happen. You know that he's going to use... the velociraptors, try to use them in a way... You could see it as soon as he starts talking about it. You know,
I think even more than that, like, you know that guy's going to get killed by a raptor at the end of the movie. Like...
Exactly. And you say, are we spoiled? Maybe, but it's not even just the fact that Jurassic Park is a film that's already been made. There's only one type of director who can make that Jurassic Park movie, and that was Steven Spielberg. He is a one-of-a-kind filmmaker. There have been talk about James Cameron. He might have directed Jurassic Park at one point before Spielberg bought the Michael Crichton book. But even Cameron has said his version would have been way different than Spielberg. Spielberg found a way to put his spin on that book, which apparently is a lot grittier and violent than what Spielberg made. But Spielberg put his touch on the film, and Jurassic Park is now one of the all-time classic blockbusters that it is.
Yeah.
So when you're making a Jurassic World, and you're basically just kind of repeating the highs and the thrills of the first one.
Yeah.
There's no surprise. The element surprise is gone. There's no surprises in this film. Again, probably the only one that comes close is the birds, because you're like, but even then, even though you kind of see it coming, it's still kind of. I thought it was very, very well handled, because that was a lot of chaos, and it was a surprising amount of clarity with what you could see, and especially one particular sequence when one of those birds swoops up that one woman who was supposed to track down Claire.
Oh, the nanny?
Who was played by Bryce
Dallas Howard. The girl who's just watching the kids.
The nanny, basically.
Yeah.
The bird swoops her up, and then for 45 seconds we see probably the most gruesome death you could ever see in a PG-13 film. From a character who we don't even know that much, but they spend a lot of time. Really, that was one of the most awful deaths I've ever seen because of that context. Because it's a PG-13 film, you're not really expecting something like that, and it's a character where you're like, and there's been a talk about like, did she deserve to die that way? And then the pushback to that was, come on, guys, it's not really about deserve. They're dinosaurs. They're not gonna.
Nobody deserves.
They're not gonna
really anything.
But it's
just their food.
It's the creation of the filmmakers. These dinosaurs obviously aren't real. There's not much basis in reality to begin with, but they still decided to show. It's about what they showed. It's not about what would actually happen. Yeah. It's about what the filmmakers choose to show. For some reason, they chose to show this 45-second sequence of this woman just getting horribly maimed and just all kinds of awful things happening to her. And so... But there was, despite that, there was still amazing clarity with that sequence. But overall, it just didn't quite, because you can see it all happening from the get-go. You know what's going to happen.
It's the same. It's the same exact story as the first movie that came out in 93 or 94. It's a greedy human trying to take advantage of this nature that's not supposed to exist anymore, bring it back, and the horror that ensues because of that. It's like man versus animal. And when you try to use that for your own gain, you're going to wind up. It's going to wind up blowing up in your face. So like that story hasn't changed. So how do you tell that story again? We see that and it's kind of an interesting comment on the movie itself when the scientists are talking about like our audiences aren't excited by just seeing dinosaurs anymore. We need these genetically modified super dinosaurs. That's the people that are going to see this movie. They've seen the dinosaurs before. They've seen it 3 times now. What do you got for me now? we have to have this genetically modified, hybrid dinosaur to put butts in the seats, because otherwise we're telling the same exact story. So now it's Jurassic Park, but with this new dinosaur and new CGI. You know what I mean?
Basically, I mean, there's not much differentiation between the first film and this fourth film. Overall, did I enjoy the film? I mean, I enjoyed the film in ways where you would enjoy any of these Jurassic Park movies. It at least delivered on the most basic front, which is you got to see people get eaten by dinosaurs. You got that, so hooray for us. But my enjoyment for the film just felt hollow. It didn't feel the same, and because the characters aren't there, the story isn't really there. It's a poorly conceived film. It's really just a glorified sci-fi film, which is not an original thought. I saw someone else say that about the movie, and I agree with that. It really feels like a glorified sci-fi film because it's really all about the money is in these action sequences. Yeah. I mean, which you would kind of expect, but you would at least hope that the characters weren't this stupid, especially when you have the Indomitable Rex is supposed to be even smarter and more intelligent than any dinosaur before. But what is that dinosaur, the genetically modified dinosaur, wind up doing in the end? Just pretty much acting like the Tyrannosaurus Rex from 22 years ago. There's really not that much difference aside from hey, she took out the tracking device, and hey, we thought she was missing, but then she's not missing. Other than that, I mean, she got the heat sensors to track down everyone in the park. You would think at that point you would take, you would find a way to get those people. You would spread them out or something like that. You know what I mean? Once she's heading south, you go north. Maybe just keep making circles around the island. I don't know how exactly you would do it, but just seemed What's that?
One thing I really want to touch on is just how a trailer can really take away from a movie-going experience today, and how people just don't care. Because so much of this movie was given away if you watch the trailer. You know that the dinosaur escapes the enclosure. I mean, that's a given. But you know that when they go into that enclosure, when Chris Pratt and those two other guys go in there, you know he's still in there because there's a shot in the trailer of them running away from it in the enclosure. You know that when they're, that heartwarming scene, or what's supposed to be a heartfelt scene when... Not heartwarming. It doesn't, make you feel good when you see a dying brontosaurus. But that scene where they're together and they're seeing this dinosaur that's suffering and dying, and then the next shot is a reveal of all these other 6 or 7 brontosauruses that it's hunted for sport. You know that's coming because he says it's hunting for sport in the trailer. It gives away so much. I don't know. Those could be really big moments in a movie if you don't know that they're coming. And that, combined with the fact that these characters are kind of so flat and one note, Chris Pratt is the everyman hero. He's kind of sarcastic. There's not much to him there. He's going to fall in love with, what's her name, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Who's the
typical workaholic, doesn't have time for a family.
She's way worse than that. She is actively annoying in this movie. She's way worse than the typical worker. All right, You know what? Let's get into it. Let's get into this. I remember enough of the movie still to do this. So let's. We've never done. This is a long take first, but I think this is going to be fun. All right. So let's do this plot point by plot point, at least of the major ones. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go through it.
So you have these parents who had this bright idea to take their kids, ship them off to this island where their aunt works.
Who I haven't seen in 7 years.
We are probably going to get a divorce. We have some stuff to work out, so leave. Please leave, kids, so we can work out our own problems. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
To their workaholic aunt, who they must know is a workaholic. They must know that. it's very clear that she only cares about one thing, which is this park. Cares so much about it, apparently, that it leads to the park's demise, but yeah. She's really quite stupid for someone who cares that much about her job.
I mean, she's related to Hammond, right? So, right? Isn't she supposed to be like Hammond's granddaughter, or...
I guess so.
Is her last name Hammond?
Guess.
In the movie? I can't remember that. But you'd have to be related to the guy that founded this place for you to have that job, because yeah, she is pretty dense.
There's that going on. So they're being shipped off to this island, and it's like, good luck, kids. You know, they go in, and you know the younger of the two really loves dinosaurs. He's the impressionable young kid who loves dinosaurs. The older one is the jaded, I've been here at least once before.
Just cares about girls. How many shots are there in this movie of him just like staring at chicks? Like, we get it.
Yeah, we really get a good sense of what he thinks works on women, which is just staring at them with no other means of communication, just blank stares. And you know, it's cool to see the younger kid make fun of him for once or twice.
That was enjoyable. But I like that moment too.
These are probably the worst kids ever in a movie.
They're the worst kids
I wanted them to die, and quite frankly, I was disappointed that they didn't die.
Really?
Yeah, so that's basically the first plot point. They're being shipped off. They're excited, or one is excited, one's not excited.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fucked up right there, right? That the parents, if you know that your sister is a workaholic, wouldn't you at least want one of you to go with them and like at least try, like, make sure everything's going to be okay? I mean, you're putting a lot of faith on a woman who seems to have no interest in kids whatsoever.
Doesn't even know how old they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She barely even knows these kids, and you're just going to ship them off to them. Like, that's just so irresponsible. So you kind of wish that those parents would get eaten by dinosaurs. Unfortunately, I mean, they're clearly smart enough to know that. They're probably like, you know what, you guys really want to go? Fine. Goodbye. We're going to stay here and not get eaten by dinosaurs. We remember too much about Jurassic Park to even step foot near this place. Although, they probably have been there before. I don't know. But you get the sense that they're more than happy to not go anywhere near that place. You know?
Yeah, just get rid of the kids. I mean, how bad must the fighting between the mom and the dad have been? You know, for like let's send you off to go run away from dinosaurs, because that's going to be better than listening to me and your mom fight for the next weekend.
So the next major thing to happen in this film, I would say, would be this character, unbelievable. This character, the CEO of the park, has got to be the most mind-bogglingly stupid person. I mean, I'm saying all these characters are stupid. This guy takes the cake. He's the Indian. I'm trying to get the characters' names right now, but he's the Indian who. This is partly his idea too, to get this Indomitable Rex. And then when he finds out, hey, wait a minute, this guy is Simon Masrani. That's his name.
Yeah.
He's the owner of Jurassic World. And Claire, it's Claire Deering. I don't know if she's related to.
Oh, I guess she's not. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because she was dressed in all white, which is like an homage to John Hammond from Jurassic Park. He was always dressed in all white. So I just assumed. But there you go. Okay, so Masrani is the big boss, and Claire is in charge or whatever. Okay, go on.
So they're not too sure about this dinosaur. They're pretty, and then they find out things about this dinosaur, like this Indominus Rex, Indomitable Rex.
Yeah, Indominus
Rex, Indominus. Right. So, and then of course B.D. Wong of Law and Order fame is the chief geneticist who created this animal.
Back from Jurassic Park. He was in the first one.
Right. And he thinks that he's like, well, I mean, we took the balls of a frog and put it on like just do different parts where it's like, so you didn't realize this thing was gonna be impossible to maintain. Like everyone involved with the making of the I-Rex just seems like they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah,
like, just
that right there
no idea.
Was a checkout moment for me because, it's only been a little over 20 years before these tragedies were all over the news about, this park that, all these people got eaten in. And not only that, years later, the T-Rex, terrorized San Diego. So, we know that dinosaurs kill people. This guy, though, he was there. He was there when this shit went down. So he's the one who's saying, well, hey, you gave me free reign to create a super dinosaur. Of course I'm going to do it. No, I don't buy that for a second.
All right. So the next big point is Masrani orders Claire to get Owen Grady, played by Chris Pratt, the wonderful Chris Pratt, to take a look at this Indominus Rex. And is this dinosaur... was this a good idea? Kind of feel out this dinosaur, because he's like the dinosaur whisperer. He's like the Velociraptor whisperer. And when we come to see Owen Grady, he's training these Velociraptors, because apparently Velociraptors can be tamed. But fine, I'll give them that they're trying. You kind of have to.
They spend the last three movies, teaching you how super smart these dinosaurs are. The Velociraptors, they're smarter than chimps, smarter than dolphins, but they can be tamed by a guy, just like that. Like they're like dogs in this movie.
Exactly. When we come to see Owen, he's being chatted to by Vic Hoskins. That was played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and right away you can tell this guy Vic Hoskins is bad news because he wants to take these Velociraptors.
He's that guy.
Yeah, we're gonna take these Velociraptors and we're gonna use them for the military tactics. And Owen Grady, rightly so, is like, that's really stupid. He's like, I don't care, and it's so it's so one note. This guy,
yeah, it's really kind of a parody of itself.
He only has one goal in this entire film, and he acts it out. And it's like you just imagine this guy. All he thinks about when he goes home before he's like when he's sleeping, he's just like Velociraptors, military. We're gonna take him to Afghanistan. Okay. Like these Velociraptors have been trained that long that you would think that they'd be able to use in this manner. So it really makes no sense at all that exactly. You would jump to this. Yeah, go ahead.
You never really you kind of just go with it. Like, okay, that's where the movie's going. This is not something that the audience is supposed to really think seriously about. Like, oh, what are the logistics of using Velociraptors in combat? No, we're just gonna we got to suspend disbelief here. But they don't do a very good job of convincing you that this is believable. At least they didn't for me.
So let's try to fast forward a little bit here. And I'll fast forward by being like, okay, so Owen comes, he's, where's the I-Rex? He can't find it. You go out to the thing. Looks like it escaped. Oh, wait, it didn't escape. Oh, no. They open the door and it burst through and that one fat dude gets eaten.
Right away. The fat guy always gets eaten, right?
Mm-hmm. And so Indominus Rex it has escaped. And this is bad. This is bad news. This is clearly bad news. But you can't kill this Indominus Rex yet because this is going to be the main attraction. Are you fucking insane? Like, are you that stupid? Like, really? The thing has escaped and it's smart. You already know how smart it is. And once you find out the tracking device is gone, you don't think like, okay, we need to get rid of this dinosaur now. Yeah. You guys, it's not like you're losing money. It's just market research has found that teenagers aren't that interested. But it's clear you have 200,000 people, right? Or 20,000? 200,000 tourists at that park at that point. You guys are doing fine. Kill that one. Start new. Make it not so intelligent. You don't have to...
Yeah, start over. Start from the drawing board. You did it once.
Obvious contrivances just to let this Indominus Rex create havoc. It's just absolutely insane. And they easily they wind up getting their first soldiers killed, or their first whatever I guess soldiers. I don't know what they're supposed to be, but
they're
supposed
like
to
mercenary guys or something. Yeah.
And they get killed easily. And I'm trying to skip through this because my favorite moment in the film.
Okay.
All right, favorite is a very, but you'll understand why. So those mercenaries get killed. The Indominus Rex is out there, right? The kids are in that little ball. And I saw this image on Twitter about what that little area was supposed to should have looked like. You know, the area where all those dinosaurs are roaming freely, and you can be in those little balls. And you can
with the streak on the window?
Around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because there should have been dinosaur shit everywhere.
Right.
Apparently, apparently they clean their shit right. You know, as soon as the shit comes out, it's cleaned up. But no. There should have been shit all over the place. It should have been smelly and awful.
There should have been streaks all over those pretty spheres.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
And then, now, I thought this part, when the older kid is like, hey, look, there's an opening to this exit. I mean, we already know these kids are really stupid, so it's not that surprising that he's like, let's go off course. And like this is the only thing that excites him is like the fact that he's gonna get killed. Like it's really stupid. But I thought at this particular moment I was like, okay, this is kind of in character because these kids are really dumb. So I would.
Well, the little kid's smart. Like the little
part.
kid knows a lot about dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean he kind of has to go along with the ride. And I saw this point brought up on the message boards of the Dissolve.com. Mm-hmm. Why are these vehicles manually controlled? That makes zero sense.
Yeah.
0 cents. If they're going to be controlled, why wouldn't they be controlled by someone involved in the park? You know, doing a tour.
That way, when you close the park and say, "Hey, this ride," you can bring them back. You're not like at their will. Like, oh, hopefully they bring that gyro cart or whatever the hell it is called. You know, it's silly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about lawsuits, if you're worried about all that kind of stuff, you wouldn't have a manually controlled little vehicle that could easily get people killed. Very easily they can go off course and try and do something. Like,
or just you can run it into a dinosaur and it'll attack it.
Zack and Gray, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, so their characters were Zack and Gray.
Yeah.
Even if they were VIP, that you especially wouldn't want them to get killed or go off course or anything like that. So it just makes 0 sense. But okay, so they're out and they get attacked by the Indominus Rex. They escape.
I was a little let down because I thought it was going to be, a nod to the Jeep scene from the first one where the T-Rex is attacking the kids in the Jeep, and that scene went on for so long. This one was over in all of 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that was a pretty intense scene, though, because you're like, wow, how the hell are they going to escape this?
Yeah.
But they escape, and they, back to the control room. They see, oh my god, these kids have escaped. We got to go find them. And so here we go. So Claire's like, I don't know what to do. And then she's like, all right. She sees Owen, and she tracks down Owen. And they're like, we got to go get these kids. These are my nephews. And even though Owen doesn't really like Claire at this point, because why would he? She's clearly stupid. They go ahead, they track down these kids, and they're like, oh, we gotta get these kids. They are loose, and they could be eaten at any point. Any point. So number one goal has got to be, at least for Claire at this point, has got to be to take these kids. And now I've seen people say, like, why does she only care about these kids? But they're the only ones who are in clearly danger's way. I mean, everyone's pretty much in danger's way at this point, but these ones are actively seeking out their own deaths, and she has to stop that. So I thought that was pretty clear. So, okay. But what happens as soon as they get out there into the field? Do they find those kids, Justyn? Is that their first priority there? Once they get out into the fields, or do they stop and check on dinosaurs?
The first thing they do is they go to where they were attacked, where the wreckage of that gyro ball thing is, and then they go to the waterfall. And then they have that moment where they're consoling that dying brontosaurus.
Oh, damn it! Adam's crying. Hold on.
I've been reading the IMDb goofs and plot holes and stuff for Jurassic World, and I've been keeping myself entertained with that because some of them are pretty funny. Like, one of them is, so just before taking the Jeep, Gray mentions that Zach failed his driving test, or tells him that he failed his driving test. So it seemed fairly unlikely that he could expertly drive a Jeep, which has a manual transmission. That's pretty funny. How Owen in the beginning needed to be brought into to check on the dinosaur, but later in the movie he can just go anywhere. Like, he had seniority, like he could just walk into any controlled building he wanted to. The fact that those kids their dad showed them how to fix a car once, so they can take a 20-year-old Jeep and just like new. Oh my god. Oh, and this is great. In the original, we haven't gotten there yet in terms of story, but in the original movie it was stated that the T-Rex was clocked at 50 miles per hour and almost outran a speeding Jeep, yet Claire, in heels, was able to outrun the T-Rex as she led it to the I-Rex for that epic battle.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably write a whole book about the inconsistencies and the goofs and all that. When Owen, here's why this scene was my favorite. Okay. Because when Owen and Claire see these dinosaurs, those long neck ones, what are they called, brontosauruses, or?
I think that's a brontosaurus, right? Yeah, I think.
And they're not quite dead yet. And he goes up to one, and it's and he's petting it. And for some reason, I was like, this movie is already this crazy. I kind of expect this dinosaur to be like, the kids. They went down the waterfall. They went that way. And they're like, where? Tell us, Brontosaurus, tell us. And it's like, I don't know. For some reason, I was like, I felt like that's the setup there felt very similar to that type of scene in a crime film or action film where it's like the character's almost dead and you need the information from the character.
You gotta tell me. Come on, tell me.
No, you gotta tell me. And oftentimes those characters are upset because they didn't get that last piece of information, not because the character's dead.
Yeah.
It's like, no, come back to life so I can find out that one more thing I need to find out. For some reason, that's why that scene was like, this scene can get really weird right now.
Were you the only guy in the theater laughing when the Brontosaurus was dying, Ken?
I think so. Because just the way, because it was near death, and they walk right up to them, and that was the only way that scene could have made sense. Because otherwise, oh my god, those dinosaurs are dying. We should really figure something out about this as soon as we find those kids. That's the thought process.
Yeah.
You don't go stop everything. Screw your nephews. We have to figure out what's wrong with these dinosaurs right now.
We gotta find them. But first, let's check on these brontosauruses. They look like they're in trouble. Like, your kids are important too, but these
dinosaurs. Well, you'll figure it out at some point, but you got kids out there who are going to die if you don't get to them. Although, if anything, as you come to find out, and they find the old Jurassic Park, shrine almost. It's it's still there for some reason. All this cool.
It didn't get bulldozed.
Yeah, and that was ultimately my problem with this film is that it tries so hard to remind you that Jurassic Park happened. And yet
remember how it felt. Older audience.
I know, but it just reinforces the fact that none of this is plausible. None of this makes any sense. Jurassic World, none of it. And so when you get to this scene where these kids are probably building this Jeep, rebuilding it, and they're able to run it.
Yeah,
it just makes absolutely no sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, and they take off seconds before they show up. That's just too perfect. Zach and Gray drive off, and then seconds later, not even 30 seconds later, Owen and Claire are just right there. Oh, we just missed them. The dinosaur's here.
So shortly after this, you know, Claire and Owen barely escape the Indominus Rex again, and I think it's at this point where we reach the birds, right? That's when that happens because the CEO has this bright idea. He's just learning to.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that.
He's just learning how to drive a helicopter, and he's like, "I'm going to take care of this. This is my thing. I'm going to take care of." And what happens, Justin? What happens when he takes control of that helicopter?
Well, in his defense, Ken, he was the only pilot for whatever reason on the premises. He was the only guy who could fly a helicopter, so it makes total sense.
Is the only one who could fly a helicopter at that point?
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw this coming, but that plane didn't work.
No, and he wound up getting killed in spectacular fashion, I might say, and I think that's what. Oh, yeah. And then I believe he crashes into the aviary. I believe, right?
Yeah, where all the where the pterodons are, those flying ones.
Yeah, and I gotta say that was great. I thought that was really fun. And then through the course of that, Zach and Gary, I almost said Gary. Zach and Gray meet up with Owen and Claire, I believe, before the real craziness happens. You know, it turns dark, things calm down, but they gotta get that Indominus Rex, you know, and they take out the Velociraptors, and Owen's running with riding his little, his four-wheeler or whatever, with the Velociraptor.
Owen's got the motorcycle, the token black guy has the four-wheeler.
Oh, okay, right. So...
Barry.
Mm-hmm. And so they come up, and you find out, oh my god, this Indominus Rex is part Velociraptor, and those Velociraptors that Owen has painstakingly tried to train have easily turned against him, and now they have to worry about 5 dinosaurs. Like, just that plan was so easily not going to work, and yet it was Vic Hoskins is so stupid to believe it's going to work. And that's my problem. It's like, when these characters are so dumb, it's really hard to get into a blockbuster type film like this, because you're hoping that there's someone to voice a reason. And unfortunately, Owen is he has to take orders. He's not high enough in the food chain to be like, we're not doing it that way. So you have to watch as these really stupid characters do really stupid things, and it gets to the point. What happens is there's no outsmarting involved. There's no unexpected plot twists like, okay, we're not going to do it this way, but oh my god, this is going to happen now. It's really just stupid characters make a stupid decision, which leads to obvious results, and there's no thrills there, none. You know, I mean, we can talk about the rest of the plot points, but really, what you expect happens pretty much happens. The Indominus Rex comes. Luckily, most of the tourists have left, and it's just a couple of them. You'd think the kids would have left too, but whatever.
If they're VIP, get them on the first boat or whatever out of there. But no, then the movie would be over.
That Laura Lapkus character, the character from Orange is the New Black.
Just
hey, listen, take these kids, and we'll meet you in 24 hours, something like that. You know what I mean? Just something that's smart. Instead, she puts those kids in danger, and it's just really unnecessary. But fine. So you have the Indominus Rex, and then eventually Claire takes out the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is still there this entire time.
Mm-hmm. But I mean that is also like super predictable. You know that fight's coming.
Yeah,
am I wrong?
The Mosasaurus in the water, and you have the slow mo of this little Velociraptor coming in, and it's gonna save the day, and like the music and the slow motion, and I guess other people in the audience were like thrilled, but like I was like, this is insane. Like this is supposed to be the most dramatic part of the movie. Like this is a little Velociraptor like charging at the Indominus Rex. It just felt so ridiculous, and not in a good way. Just seeing how that unfolds. And I mean, like it's kind of good batshit craziness, in a way. Just because they go there, they get the T-Rex against the I-Rex, the Velociraptor, and then at the end, the Mosasaurus comes and, does the ultimate damage, saves the day. And, at the end, the T-Rex is alive, right? The T-Rex is still alive at the end and roars. Which,
that's not that triumphant roar.
I would have preferred, I would have preferred if the I-Rex would have survived. This new beast cannot be stopped. If they're gonna really make a point here about how smart this dinosaur is, you would think that it would be able to be smart enough with these really stupid people,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I keep thinking about what made Jurassic Park work so well for me, the first one, and part of it was I was 7, so the nostalgia and what I remember, that's paramount right there. It's hard for me to take myself away from being a little kid watching this movie being terrified, but that's something that is important. The raptors are terrifying. They're supposed to be the scariest thing in the movie. That kitchen scene, people still talk about that to this day because that was such a powerful scene, and you were so scared. You're like, how are these kids going to survive against these terrifying dinosaurs? In this movie, they're reduced to dogs that obey commands, and now they're on your side. That just to me is kind of ruining something about that the original, because those are the baddest, scariest dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. And now they're fighting for the humans. You've got that scene where the T-Rex and the Velociraptor are teaming up inexplicably for no. Why wouldn't the T-Rex just kill the Velociraptor? But they're able to recognize that they're fighting for the greater good or something, and they're fighting against the I-Rex. And at the end, don't they kind of bow to each other and go their separate ways? Yeah. It's I respect you, bro. I respect you too, bro. and the oh my god, and the T-Rex is scary enough. And if you can do it the right way, obviously there's a difference between a guy like Spielberg and this guy, the director of this movie. He's got one indie under his belt. But I really liked Safety Not Guaranteed. But how do you I would be so intimidated by the scope and the recipe for failure. To even take on this, but the fucked up thing is that this is such a huge success. It's everybody's going to be rewarded for this crazy movie. It's just but this is something that you wanted to touch on, right? This is what audiences want now.
Yeah, it seems like mediocrity has been rewarded in a big way and everyone seems to love it. It got an A cinema score. People are ravenous about it. There are people if you don't like Jurassic World, you don't like movies. There's that people are so strong about this film, and I don't want to take too much time to tear down audiences. We've done that a little too many, a few too many times on this show. So I don't want to make it too much about that. But there's got to be something to be said about embracing a movie so much that is flawed in so many ways and really shouldn't have worked with that many audiences. But you got your dinosaurs, you got your carnage, you got your action, and that's enough. But it doesn't really work in a way those things should work. It doesn't really work in the way they think it works. Or are we the crazy ones? I don't know. Are we wrong for feeling the way we feel? I don't think so. I really don't. I really don't think this type of film should be rewarded because it was a complete hodgepodge of other aspects of other blockbuster films that worked, put it all together, basically redoing Jurassic Park over, and seeing what
the same
fits.
Theme, the same general story, except that everything is a little watered down. The characters don't have as much depth to them at all, and throw in a lot, more improved visual effects, and it's shiny and it looks good. But I'll take the special effects in the first one still hold up to me, and they used a lot of puppets and things like that, like actual props. That raptor was a guy in a suit, for a lot of those scenes, and that worked better than these really good looking CGI. Like, I don't know, it just surprises me that I wasn't expecting this movie to do that well. I mean, I thought it would do well, but I didn't think it would be the best weekend in film history or whatever.
Yeah, I really just think it was the right time, because the third one came out when? 2001? 2002? Maybe?
A while ago, yeah.
So it's been a
long time.
It's been a long time. A new generation has been formed. New generation that would enjoy a movie like this in the big screen. There's a reason why Jurassic Park was the highest grossing movie of all time when it first came out. Because people want to see dinosaurs in action. And 22 years have passed, so a new generation wants to see dinosaurs in action. So, I mean, it would just happen to be the right time for this kind of movie to come out. And honestly, the only way they can get me to see the next Jurassic World film, because there's going to be another one coming, if they bring back Jeff Goldblum, I'll be there. They have to bring back Jeff Goldblum, though. That's it. I mean, he didn't die at any point, right? He survived. They have to bring him back. That's it. That's the only way I'll possibly see it. And if they do, I will see it, because I want to see Jeff Goldblum back in this world. I would kill to see that. But
that's the greatest thing about Jurassic Park. Like, he's a secondary character. He's not a main. Like, he's not a main character, but he's such a well-rounded. He's a good character.
He was kind of the main character in The Lost World. He was kind of...
In the sequel, he was. In the second movie, the second movie was about him. But the first movie, like that's how well developed or well thought out that movie was.
If you're going to reference the older movies so much, why not bring one of them? Why not bring one of the older characters back?
Probably because nobody wants anything to do with these new movies from back in those days. I don't know. I don't like. They probably talked to him about it. Why wouldn't they offer him a role in this new movie? I don't think it's a coincidence that nobody from the first movies are around for this one.
Well, I would think that for the second one, for the fifth film, really. After seeing how much bank this movie made, I'm sure people would think a little bit differently. But I think I think that's the only way to really make me want to see it, because I don't really know where else this could go. Where else could Jurassic World go?
Right. It's like, that's it, man. Like, how's it gonna change? It's only gonna, like, now that they've gone from using actual dinosaurs to invented dinosaurs. What's next? And this is something that they've been trying to figure out now for since 2001. Like, how are we going to make the next movie? Because people are tired of just seeing, there's so many other dinosaurs that they could use. Why does it have to be the Velociraptor and the T-Rex? And the I-Rex in this movie, I guess. That's their answer to, what else can we do? And it's not that creative, really, because it's just a hybrid of a T-Rex and a Velociraptor. I guess we both didn't like it very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have liked it a little bit more than you did. I gave it a C overall, because it basically works on the most basic level. It's probably a little bit better than I thought it was going to turn out, and it did have a couple of sequences that I thought turned out really well. I did like Jake Johnson and Laura Lapkus as the control room.
Yes, I'm glad that you brought them up, because I like Lowry and Vivian are the characters' names, and I think that Jake Johnson was kind of designed to be the guy that guys our age identify with. He's got the Jurassic Park T-shirt. He's there. He remembers the first time around. So yeah, I like that character, and he was kind of funny.
I don't know about your audience, but they kind of perked up when he was on screen. I guess I was surprised. I'm like, this many people seen the new girl? I mean, I like Jake Johnson. And I guess he was in Let's Be Cops, which was kind of... It made quite a bit of money. But I was surprised, when he came up screen, everyone was like, they were kind of like, not everyone, but a good portion, at least of the younger audience. I guess they watched New Girl, because they enjoyed seeing him pop up, and then, almost every line he said got huge laughs from my audience. They really enjoyed Jake Johnson in this film. So,
Laura Lapkus, she's from Orange Is the New Black.
Right.
And I like that scene where the dramatic what you think it's going to be like the kiss, or just like, oh no, I've got a boyfriend. That was funny.
Yeah, and that leads to a point, because like the movie tries to play with tropes like that, tries to play with cliches, but it's wallowed in cliches. It's like it wants to like make fun of these types of cliches, but it is these cliches. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you can't make fun of it while you're doing it. Yeah.
And I think the last thing to bring up is the director, Colin Trevorrow. Like you mentioned, he made Safety Net Guarantee, which is a pretty solid indie, but overall, he's no Steven Spielberg. And this is the second movie. Like I don't expect him to be Steven Spielberg. From the beginning, I was like, I kind of felt bad that. I mean, you could see why he would want to make this movie, but in no way is this movie a Colin Trevorrow film. You know, most people, when they talk about Jurassic World, they're talking about Steven Spielberg again, even though he was just an executive producer. He wasn't really involved in this movie that much. He gave it his thumbs up. He liked the movie. I mean, of course, he has to say that, but he gave it his thumbs up. But Trevorrow, I don't see anything in this movie that would say, oh, that's what Trevorrow brought to this film. You know, they say that, like, well, you know, he was going to bring a story element, or he's going to work with the actors and the characters, but all of that failed. All of that was the weakest parts of the film, and it was so much of it was so weak that for me it ruined most of the film, because without like a strong human element, this movie is the only thing worth watching is the action sequences. And even for me, like, unless I'm invested, like, I can't just watch action sequences as they are, unless the whole movie's about the action, and you're not really, and it's not trying to characterize. Because the thing is, like, it's not like they ignore characterization. It's just that it was bad. It was just poor. You know,
it's no good if like you have all these these big fights and action sequences when you're really like, I'm not worried about these characters because I know that they're going to make it.
You want most of these characters to die, like I kind of expected Claire to get it at the end, even though they wouldn't have done it. But like they showed no mercy to that nanny, but Claire, who was she deserved it more, man. I don't know. But yeah, I would just you gotta wonder for Trevorrow. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be able to do whatever he wants now because this movie made a lot of money. But I just don't see. I don't know who he is at this point. He made a decent indie, but who is Colin Trevorrow? I don't know. I mean,
I get the feeling that anybody could have been the director of this movie.
Exactly. I mean,
and that's a shitty thing to say about, because the director has such an important role in the filmmaking process. But with a big studio picture like this, where it's like they can insert any director that they want. It's kind of like going back to the old days when directors were interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. And when you look, what kind of like gets to me especially is that audience reaction to Gareth Edwards' Godzilla was very poor.
Yeah.
I mean, it has like a 6.5 on IMDb, and it's just like everyone just kind of when everyone talks about last year's Godzilla, it's like with a negative tone. And I thought Godzilla was. I still think Godzilla's at least pretty damn good. And
I saw it with you, man. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and Gareth Edwards, his stamp is all over that thing. It looks great. He really wanted to focus on, the development of Godzilla, like the way, because the way the things play out, it wasn't exactly what you might have expected. Like he kind of gave Godzilla its own flair. Like the 1998 version kind of felt like a Jurassic Park retreat, like a kind of going in that direction. But
this Godzilla, ride that wave.
Yeah, this one really felt like a real good Hollywood Godzilla film, like a true big budget Hollywood Godzilla film. It didn't have that much action in it, but
if you're gonna compare, like that's a fair comparison to take Godzilla and Jurassic World. And in my opinion, Godzilla is a superior film because that's there's a movie where the stakes are high, where you're worried about the survival of these characters and what they're going to do, what the challenges that they face. Something like Jurassic World, for it to be so successful when it's just like there's so much different about the two movies. Where I don't know. I'm kind of I think what I can boil it down to is just that the nostalgia and people craving this movie so strongly is the reason that it's so successful. People wanted this really, really badly, and you could tell, like, they went to the theaters in droves to see it. So it's obvious that this is something that the audience has been dying to see, and Godzilla isn't. All right, Ken. Well, at this point, I think it's a good time for us to take a little break, but we'll be back in just a moment. We'll wrap up our discussion of Jurassic World. So we'll be back here listening to The Long Take, and we'll be back soon.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Long Take. We are back in the same episode. 2 days.
Break took a little longer than we expected.
Two days after the previous segment, because my son woke up a little bit earlier than I had expected. But
life doesn't wait for The Long Take, unfortunately.
That's true. Yeah, we kind of have to schedule around life. But Justyn, what's your... If you could have a final word on Jurassic World and all the hype around it, and what would it be? What's your final word on this movie?
I'm glad you asked me that, because since our discussion a couple days ago, I've had some time to think about it and hear people's opinions, and all I'm seeing is just like resounding praise for this movie. And the more I think about it, the more it upsets me, because this is a movie that it doesn't deserve, like, so much love. Left and right, people are just like, if I go on Facebook, I'm seeing somebody who's just like, somebody said something about, like, we had Furious 7 and Jurassic World and, like, what, I'm trying to think of the other movies, but it's just like, so many great movies this year, and I'm just like, all the movies you mentioned aren't that great. Mm-hmm. Some of them even, dare to say, suck. I've never seen Furious 7, so I can't really pass judgment on that one, but to say Jurassic World is a great movie, like you had said, somebody said it was like perfect or something, it's like, what is a good movie anymore, And I'm thinking, if this is the kind of movie that you can make something that's so flawed, with characters that are so flat, a story that's so overdone, like cliches upon cliches upon cliches, but because it's like, it's pretty and it's what people want, Jurassic World is just like a really attractive dumb girl, and it seems like that's what audiences, that's who they want to hook up with, that's the person that they want. So I don't know what, like, I do know what it says about audiences today. It's, that they're okay with a dumb movie, like they're ready to heap tons of praise on a movie that's just not thought-provoking or not challenging or just goes where you want it to go. They want to see what they want to see, and they want it to look good. And, I got a little down on myself because I was like, am I getting old? I sound like a crotchety old man who's like, back in my day, movies were good, but, I'm not going to deny it. This is how I feel, and it pisses me off that, people are going to take notes. Studios they already have. And they're just going to make more of this shit. They're just going to make more of this shit. And this is what we're going to have to look forward to. I can't even get excited for a summer blockbuster anymore because I know it's going to be a fucking stupid movie.
Yeah, keep going. Get mad. You son of a bitch.
That's
get
mad. Man. And people are going to hear that and they're like, screw that guy.
This movie doesn't have to just be a dumb...
Go ahead, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
This movie doesn't have to be an attractive, dumb girl. It could be an attractive, dumb man. So I just want to make sure we...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Just seemed a bit sexist, Justyn. I'm just...
I'm speaking from my heterosexual male perspective.
I'm just saying...
Not to say that a man can't be attracted to a man or a woman to a woman. I'm not making a statement on that. I wasn't thinking.
But I think that there is your frustration. I don't think it has to do with you getting old. What I really think is just there's like a honeymoon period with this movie. I think we're very much in the honeymoon phase with a lot of people. A movie that really tapped into nostalgia. People got what they wanted. They wanted to see dinosaurs eat some humans and tear shit up, and that's what they got. And to be clear, I did not have low expectations for this movie. I didn't have high expectations for this movie. Ultimately, I was like, let me just watch this movie and judge it on its own terms. I never came into it expecting to dislike it. It had been 14 years since the last Jurassic Park movie, and it's probably been 14 years since I've seen Jurassic Park. I've been meaning to watch it again. So I don't really... part of me was like, you know what? It'd be interesting to experience this world again, to experience this franchise again. Let's see how it works. On the most basic, fundamental level, as a movie watcher, as a general person who watches movies, this movie just did not work for me. It seemed pretty obvious to me that it didn't work. And maybe if I just ignored all character interactions and just, I don't know, tuned myself out until the action sequences occurred, I would have enjoyed it. But people often, because people who defend this movie are like, "Oh my god, you're taking it way too seriously," and that's not true. And then they'll be like, "It's not that kind of movie. It's supposed to be stupid, or it's supposed to check your brain out of the door," and or
really,
I feel like that's basically what they're like. "Oh, come on, man, come on, you're taking it too seriously. You don't know how to enjoy yourself watching movies like that." I feel like that's like people get defensive. I think it's because there's a nostalgia aspect to it. You kind of get attached to something that you really enjoy when you were a kid, and you refuse to believe that it could be anything less than amazing, just because it gave you the most basic things that you asked for, which is you wanted dinosaurs, you got your dinosaurs. You wanted your bigger dinosaur. It's as if we kind of took the movie to task for being a meta commentary on itself and trying to have its cake and eat it too. And yet, what has been proven since the movie came out is that people may actually want, maybe they were right about the Indominus Rex and people wanting to see that, and people, you know what I mean? Maybe that part of the movie was actually tapping into something that was right. It doesn't make the movie any better. It just kind of pisses you off because you're like, they're right, but it doesn't mean that it's a good thing that they're doing. You can make all those kind of commentary that you want, but it just kind of
it leads me to believe that the people who made this movie, they know that, they get it. They're in on the joke, but it's working anyway. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if anything, it feels like this movie kind of has a low opinion on the people who see it, and yet people are sucking it up anyway. I mean, it was pretty obvious. This movie has to be the most obvious meta commentary that I've ever seen in a movie. There are other movies where it's like Inception, where it's like, hey, the movie's really about making movies or something like that, and you're like, oh, I can see that. With Jurassic World, but it's pretty obvious what they're trying to what the underlying commentary is. It's pretty obvious that it's a movie about itself. My problem with that is that there was really no insight into that. It was just kind of, and even if there was, even if it was kind of honest about what it was, it still went ahead and had poorly written characters and had unearned action beats, or just nonsensical action being displayed in a nonsensical manner. Characters making poor judgments, and just anything that could be frustrating in a movie like this. Jurassic World had that. And it could be a meta commentary and still have characters you can root for. Yeah. You could still try to have some genuine emotion or genuine awe instead of. Honestly, I think the meta commentary was to the detriment of the movie itself, because for me, it kind of takes away, like, it seemed like it was so concerned about the fact that it was a Jurassic Park movie, that it was the fourth movie, that it didn't just let it be itself. You know what I mean? It kind of felt like it was kind of trapped in its own franchise. Kind of like how the Tyrannosaurus Rex was trapped in the cage, a relic of the previous Jurassic Park movies, trapped the entire time, and finally is let out of his cage at the end. But it's kind of a metaphor for
you've put some
the movie
into
itself. But you know what I mean? It just feels like the movie's kind of trapped. Like, you know, maybe Colin Trevorrow did the best he could, but what can you really do with another Jurassic Park movie except be a service to the fans? Like, they have expectations, and you have to service those expectations. Otherwise, you won't get the biggest opening weekend of all time. Yeah. And you won't have people foaming at the mouth because they love this movie so much. Yeah, that's... What do you think about
that? Really good, man. Really, really good stuff there. It, like, all the different points that you were making, like, I kept wanting to chime in, but I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on, like, a stream there. You kept going and going. But one of the things, like, the most recent thoughts that came into my head was, like, Jurassic Park, the original, really is a complete movie that doesn't need any sequels, you know? Like, the people learn their lesson at the end, like, oh, this was a bad idea, this turned out really badly, let's not do this again. Like, he even says at the end, he's like, Mr. Hammond, I've decided not to endorse your park. And then Mr. Hammond himself even says, so have I. Like, this was a bad idea. But, like, it also made me think, when I was a kid, like, Jurassic World is kind of the movie that I really think I would have liked when I was a kid, because when I was a kid and I was watching Jurassic Park, it seems like it takes forever for the dinosaurs to finally show up. Do you remember that when you were watching it as a kid?
Right.
Like, there's the beginning, you see Grant and Dr. Sadler, they're out there in the desert, and then they're talking to Hammond, and then they fly to the park, and you still don't see any dinosaurs, and then they're talking, and you see the baby velociraptor, and they're talking, and they're having dinner, and they're talking. Even when you get to the raptor cages, you just see trees moving and stuff, and it's Spielberg at work, you know? It's like, you want to see it so bad that when you finally do see that T-Rex bust out of that enclosure, it's mind-blowing, you know? And I'm getting chills now just thinking about it. Like, that was an experience that I remember that is, like, a profound experience as a kid growing up. I'm glad I got to experience that movie, you know? A kid watching this movie, like, you see the dinosaurs in, like, the first, I don't know, like 15 minutes, probably less than that. Like, they're like, here they are, here's what you came for, here's the dinosaurs. You know, we're not really concerned with telling you a story that you're going to remember, that's going to stick with you. Because, like you said, like, what else is there to do? Jurassic Park is a good movie on its own. It stands on its own feet. It doesn't really demand any more to it. There's nothing really there left to tell. If you want to tell another story, you really kind of have to reach, like, oh, what if the dinosaurs kept living on the park, and for whatever reason people go back there, or, like, you know, it's like, why would anybody go back to that island in the first place? You kind of have to create, you know, you have to reach for that story. And with this one, it just blows my mind that, like, this is a thing. Like, Disney World with dinosaurs, like, it's almost like the first three movies didn't even take place, you know?
Yeah.
But having said all that, I don't know. This is where we are, I guess.
I think it's interesting to, you know, because I think the movie is an interesting case study into the mindset of audiences today, especially when you consider how much money it's making.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, there's a lot worth talking about Jurassic World, at least in the immediate aftermath of its release. But in a few months from now, I mean, I guess we gotta hope that people kind of cool on this movie, and it's not like they can't enjoy it for what it is, but it's just the amount of overpraise for this movie is just kind of shocking if you didn't like the movie as much as others, and it's not just a matter of, like, well, you either like it or you don't. It's just, there were just clear mistakes and problems and flaws with this movie that people seem willing to ignore, and it's a problem for me because you have movies that are much better that you know, still did pretty well in the box office. I'm thinking of a movie right now that's still in release, it's still an amazing film that's you know, did okay in the box office, but okay, I'm talking about Mad Max Fury Road.
I thought you were talking about Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I figured you were talking about Mad Max.
But I get the feeling that people's expectations for what a good movie can be, I just get the sense that they aren't watching movies as carefully as they used to. You know, I feel like there's less of a need to satisfy them on any intellectual manner, any story level, any of that. You know, I just get the sense that, you know, it's all thrills, you know, but there really aren't. But they don't understand like thrills that are earned versus just kind of like a cynical thrills that are created in a cynical manner, which is what Jurassic World felt like. It felt like, here, you want this? Here. It never felt like any of like those big moments were really earned.
Yeah.
You know, it all felt kind of deliberate and kind of part of like a corporate process, you know, where they decide, okay, page 25 in the script, there's where you had the next dinosaur attacked. Like, there were just times when it was just like, oh, we haven't had a dinosaur attack people. You know, I'm thinking about like when Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's characters are in that old Jurassic Park like shed.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, there comes the I-Rex again. Somehow found them.
Yeah.
And obviously the dinosaur's not going to eat them at that point. You know that. But
you know it's not going to eat them at any point.
Exactly. Yeah. But my point is that it was almost right on cue. You were like, here comes the dinosaur, and there it was.
Yeah.
Whereas in Jurassic Park, like you're at the edge of your seat because you don't quite know exactly when. Like Spielberg kind of plays with you.
Yeah, like that second scene when the T-Rex comes back and chases Sadler and the raptor guy. I can't remember his name, but I think he's Australian. But when the T-Rex just busts out and Malcolm's in back is like, come on, we gotta go. You're not expecting a chase at that point in the movie. You know? Yeah, that's just the scene that jumps into my head when you're talking about how Spielberg kind of plays with the audience there. That's true.
And I think a lot of people... a lot of people recognize Spielberg for the master filmmaker that he is, but I don't think they realize just what amount of work goes into him making those films. The skill that he has visually, as a visual storyteller, because he never really writes his own scripts, but he's able to take, he obviously is involved in that process, and he fits them to his sensibilities. And he's able to, like I said, play with the audience, like with Jaws or with, like the Indiana Jones original trilogy, or E.T. or Jurassic Park, where, you have the expectations and then you have what actually is going to happen. And, like you think of like the third act of E.T., when you actually think E.T. is going to die. A trope that we've seen so many times since, that you're like, okay, that character's definitely not dead. But in E.T., even after seeing it like recently, you're like, oh my god, like he's actually gonna die. Like you kind of forget because of just how well Spielberg sells it, and that's like him playing with us. He knows how to play with those emotions. He knows how to manipulate it in a manner that doesn't feel too obvious and calculated. If in the moment it feels real. That's what it is. It's very in the moment. Spielberg is a very in the moment type filmmaker, and Trevorrow. Who knows? He doesn't. You can't really sign off on Trevorrow.
Yeah, you can't blame. I don't think you can blame him for this.
No, David Fincher made Aliens 3. And that's considered the weakest of the original trilogy easily. Yeah. And he was a guy who came in, didn't really know what he was doing. And Aliens 3 kind of failed, whereas Jurassic World, you don't really know Trevorrow really knew what he was doing, or if he just kind of went along with the process and just, but you don't get a sense that like it was his film, like this is a Colin Trevorrow film,
right? I mean, just looking at Safety Not Guaranteed, like that's his first movie, so he's had time to think of that story. You get an idea of the kind of filmmaker that he is, and I didn't really see anything that resembled. Like, obviously, they're two very different movies, but it's still going to have his fingerprints on it, and I didn't see it in Jurassic World.
What we have to hope for is that the success of Jurassic World enables Colin Trevorrow to make whatever film he wants to make. Right. That's what I hope for. I hope that this really launches his career, and he gets to make something. Then we can really see what kind of director he is. But I don't really feel like I know anything more about him before watching Jurassic World as I do now. I feel like it's pretty much the same, now he just has like one of the biggest blockbuster films of all time under his belt.
Yeah, but I'd be surprised if like any of the people heaping praise like on this movie could even name him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's always my problem too. Is like people don't really care about the people who make this movie. Like they see Chris Pratt, they see maybe Dinosaurs. Bryce Dallas Howard, but even then, I'm sure they couldn't name her.
Yeah, Chris Pratt's huge right now, but who else in that movie is like, Bryce Dallas Howard? She's been acting for a long time, but
yeah,
she's not like she's yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just redheaded actress to a lot of people. I mean, everyone else is. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, we know him from Full Metal Jacket and Men in Black and all that. Mm-hmm. Jake Johnson, Laura Lapkus, the actress from Orange is the New Black, and also a very talented comedian. But like at the end of the day, it's just really about the dinosaurs for a lot of people. And I feel like, they kind of got that right, but even then, they didn't really nail it.
Were they ever scary in this movie?
No.
I was like, I'm sure a kid might be scared of the dinosaur, but I think an adult who's never seen Jurassic Park, if you can find that person, would be a little scared at certain points. It's like you've got the T-Rex attack, you've got the kitchen scene, you've got all kinds of like people are running for their lives against these things. And in this movie, the dinosaurs are just like eye candy, and they're going to come in and they're going to wreak havoc and kill people, but not the stars. You know damn well those kids are going to survive. You know that the stars are going to Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt's characters are going to survive, and anybody else you don't really give a shit about.
It's true. That's just kind of how it. That's just how it is. That's what this movie. That's the movie for you. I don't know.
What this movie did was it made me go back. I went on Amazon and I got Jurassic Park on Blu-ray because I realized I didn't have it and how much this movie made me realize how much I appreciate it. And like I'm gonna watch it again pretty soon. Just gonna sit down and just like soak it in. It came in today. Too. I really want to reassess Steven Spielberg, because like this movie like this, or not to knock on this again, but a movie like Interstellar, because remember Spielberg originally was attached to Interstellar before Christopher Nolan took over. It really makes me really appreciate Steven Spielberg for who he is and the type of filmmaker that he is. But a lot of the movies that I've seen of his, the last time I've seen them, it's been like 10 plus years. Like when I saw E.T. Late last year, just appreciating the craft of it, being able to appreciate it now as a grown man, like maybe even a little bit more. I think I like the movie more now than I did as a kid. Yeah,
I honestly think that way, because I can really appreciate for what it is and for what Spielberg brought to the movie. So, and I saw Jaws like last summer.
I saw it recently too.
Like, and I was like, oh my god, this is like a pure Hitchcock homage. Whereas like 10, 15 years ago, that kind of thought wouldn't come to me. But there's just so much, like Jaws is a beautiful film, like visually, just what he does so many like interesting things with that movie that really showed like almost like an artistic sensibility that maybe he's lost over the, he's kind of gained more of like a mainstream blockbuster type.
He's such an institution in Hollywood and movies that you kind of just take him for granted. Like, oh, Spielberg made another good movie.
But Jaws just feels like pure like Hitchcockian type thriller. You think like The Birds or Psycho, just like that kind of like element of surprise that Hitchcock did so well. You kind of feel like Jaws was kind of a movie like that, which I don't think Spielberg's ever been like. I don't think he's ever really gone back to that since. He's kind of done his own thing since then. He's gone from making a movie like Jaws to being Steven Spielberg, the guy we all know now.
Well, I've heard people say that Jurassic Park is essentially just Jaws with dinosaurs.
That's pretty much true. I mean, if you want to be reductive about it, sure.
Right.
I would say Jaws is. I mean, I haven't seen Jurassic Park in a long time, but I would say Jaws is far and away better than Jurassic Park. But the thing is, Jurassic Park is just it's not really about like the quality of the movie itself. I mean, and I still think it's a really good movie. It's really about the fact that it was so huge for its time, and it still it still stands the test of time, at least in my mind. And it was the biggest, highest-grossing blockbuster film of all time for a couple of years before Titanic took over that title. But it was the highest ever, and it was that huge.
Wow. And I didn't know that.
There was a reason for that. I mean, and the reason is Spielberg, the way he crafted that film, and at that point in his career, he could make that movie in his sleep. He was such. And at the same time, though, you have to remember that he made Jurassic Park. I think there was a 3-year break between Jurassic Park and his previous film. I think Hook was his previous film. And Hook was kind of like a I think it was a flop, but I wasn't sure it was a commercial flop. But I know that critics didn't like it at the time. And the movie he made and so he was kind of Jurassic Park was kind of like his comeback film, if you could believe it, from Hook being kind of a bit of a failure.
Then after Jurassic Park, didn't he just shift completely and go make Schindler's List?
Yeah, within the same year. He made Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. And then the following year, he won, Schindler's List won Best Picture, Best Director, and like 7 more Oscars. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to talk about Spielberg. I mean, we won't be able to fully here, but like, you just think about where he was in his career when he made Jurassic Park, and then just a year later, he's winning Oscars, and you would never think, it'd be like, we always complain about Nolan not getting credit, but it would be like Christopher Nolan finally winning a bunch of Oscars. You know what I mean? That was kind of like the thing with Spielberg. He had a lot of respect in a lot of quarters, but he was such a mainstream blockbuster commercial director that no one ever actually expected him to actually make a movie like Schindler's List.
He didn't even want to.
Yeah, right? he was very hesitant to do it. Yeah.
Because he's probably like, this isn't me. This isn't what people expect from me.
But we
need to give Spielberg his due, because like I said, people kind of take him for granted. He's been making movies since we've been alive, and we just kind of grew up with Jaws and Close Encounters and E.T. and Jurassic Park and etc. So
when Bridge of Spies, that's his movie coming out this year, Bridge of Spies, when that comes out, that'll be our opportunity to talk Spielberg.
Cool. Yeah, let's make the most of that and maybe watch some of his other movies and have a nice discussion just about him.
Yeah, I like that. But in the near future, we're gonna have a lot more stuff to talk about. We got Inside Out that's coming out this weekend.
Yeah,
and that'll be our pick. Yeah, so next episode is going to be our big Pixar episode.
Cool. Are you going to go back and watch any? You're going to watch Toy Story and Finding Nemo?
I don't know if I can.
Ratatouille.
I mean, I don't own those movies, but I mean, they're pretty strong in my mind. The only Pixar movie that I haven't seen in its entirety is The Incredibles.
Really?
Which I've heard is the best one, but
I don't know about that, but I know it's really good. I really like. I've only seen it once, but Ratatouille really stands out to me. I thought that was a really good movie. But I think I don't know. We'll I guess I want to talk about it now, but we'll talk about it then. When does Inside Out come out?
This Friday.
This Friday. Nice. And I've been hearing really good things about this. I listened to an interview about it. Is it Brad Bird? Is he the one who's behind this?
Oh no, it's Peter Doctor, I believe.
So
he made.
Okay.
What did he make before that? Was it Up? Up was his last one, I think.
For Up. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now that I think, isn't WALL-E kind of regarded as the best of the Pixar movies?
I mean, I feel like there's several. Oh, he also the guy who made Inside Out also made Monsters Inc.
Shit.
And he was a screenwriter for Toy Story 1 and 2.
It's funny how like you got like three guys, Brad Bird, John Lasseter, and this fella, Peter Docter, making like all the just every Pixar movie. It's like kind of like, all right, now it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, well, we'll have our Pixar episode, and then probably soon after our Terminator. It's gonna be. I feel like we're gonna have. It's gonna be like the same.
I'm afraid of that. Hopefully not. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
It'll actually be interesting. It'll be an interesting comparison between Jurassic World and Terminator Genesis, because it'll be interesting to see how Terminator Genesis gets to the nostalgia of people, or if it does it all, or if it works in the same way Jurassic World works, or if it's just because it looks the trailer. I mean, I remember seeing the Jurassic World trailer and being like, but then I saw the Terminator Genesis trailer and I was like, that looks like shit. Like there's a difference between and shit, and that's those two trailers, because the Genesis one just looks terrible. Yeah, but who knows? I mean,
it's not much of a prediction for me to say that Genesis isn't going to be as good as Jurassic World. But like at the same time, I looked at the Jurassic World trailer and I thought that looks like shit. But
well, we'll see. I mean, either way, it's going to be an interesting discussion. And plus, we got to talk about like how Jurassic Park affected us as when we were kids, and I had the same feelings towards the Terminator movies, the first two at least.
Right. That's what I want to get to. Like the nostalgia aspect of it. Like the difference is Terminator is rated R, so not so many kids probably saw that growing up. So people brought their kids to see Jurassic Park in the theaters. I don't think people were taking their kids to see Judgment Day in the theater. I remember watching that movie at home.
That was also rated R too. That was the highest. I think that was the highest R-rated film of all time until The Matrix came. So
I remember watching that movie at home for the first time and just thinking like, this is so badass. Like
even as a kid,
that movie. I haven't seen that in a long time, but like he's driving through the like that cement ravine area or whatever where he's being chased by the truck, and he's popping the shotgun with his one hand. That's like back when Arnold Schwarzenegger was intimidating. Now not so much.
I mean, yeah, he was, and then "You Could Be Mine" by Guns N' Roses playing in the background. That scene, right?
Where
in the daytime they go. He's in the truck. The kid's and it drives off that bridge.
John's in the arcade, and then the cop, the T-1000, finds him and just running around chasing him, and then you see that epic slow motion shot where Arnold Schwarzenegger has the shotgun in the bouquet of roses, and he pulls it out, and the roses all fall around, and the chase ensues, and he's just like, it's just testosterone, pure testosterone, and it's badass. That's what I said. It's badass.
Exactly, I agree. Yeah. I mean that we already talked about. See, we're already kind of foaming at the mouth.
We like movies, if you hadn't gotten that yet.
Hopefully Genesis will be worth watching. We'll find out.
Is this the first big like role for what's her name? The girl who plays Daenerys, Emily Clark is her name?
I guess.
Oh, you don't watch Game of Thrones? She's from Game of Thrones.
What's that? Game of what? I never heard of this show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure her name is. She's a star of Amelia Clark.
Amelia Clark. Okay, I've heard of her. Maybe we'll also try and talk Orange is the New Black and True Detective, because the True Detective starts on Sunday.
Yeah,
and I'm over halfway done with Orange is the New Black, so
Okay, I haven't watched an episode since the third one, but Jen and I we're going to be watching that pretty soon. Maybe today. So next discussion, we'll be talking a little Pixar, and then we're going to talk about Terminator in the same episode. You think?
It depends. I mean, because the Terminator Genesis comes out on the 1st, and I'll have plenty of time that whole week. So I can we do like Pixar earlier in the week and then Terminator later in the week, or so. Okay. But yeah, so that's what we have to look forward to. Justyn, do you have? Are you seeing anything else in the immediate future? Any movies you're about to see or hope to see other than the movies we just mentioned?
No, I think that's it. I think Inside Out is the next movie on my radar, and then I'll just be watching a lot of TV. Orange is the New Black, True Detective. I can't believe that's coming out again on Sunday. I'm excited for that because I really enjoyed the first season, and hopefully this is just as fun, or just different. Obviously, whole different cast and everything, but hopefully it'll be just as good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be seeing this weekend. I plan on seeing Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, the Sundance hit from this year's Sundance. I also want to see Love and Mercy, the Beach Boys film. Paul Dano and John Cusack, I believe, are in that movie. So I want to see those films. I'm going to see Inside Out. I'll probably see Inside Out next week, just to get away from like the kids. It'll be weird, like a grown man watching a movie with kids in the same. I felt weird when I saw Monsters University with my wife, and we were there with a bunch of kids there, and it felt really.
That's one Pixar that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Monsters.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just felt weird to just be in a theater with a bunch of kids.
Right.
Like we're talking like 3 or 4 years old.
Right.
And this was in New York, so it was just a huge theater.
Yeah, full of children.
Exactly. So I'm hoping like maybe if I see it like next Wednesday at like 9 o'clock, there won't be as many kids there.
I think you'll be good. You might be the only one there.
Who knows? Yeah, I was the only one there when I saw Brave. I've seen the last like. I think I've seen every Pixar movie in theaters since Ratatouille, I believe. And then like I didn't see Incredibles, but then before that I saw Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. Shit, I've seen all of them in theaters except for Incredibles, I believe.
Wow, man, you missed out on that. I didn't see that in theaters either. I just saw it in school. Like one of my teachers played it during when the substitute was in or whatever. But that's a really good.
What's that? Incredibles?
Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
And then that come out in like 2004. Were you like a senior in high school?
Yeah.
And they're showing you Pixar.
I don't care. No, you know what it was? It was I was in chorus class, and at the end of the year,
okay.
When you're doing finals and stuff, what are you going to do in chorus? There's nothing. So they just hung out, and my teacher, Mr. Schultz, would play movies, and he played The Incredibles. That's how I watched them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad he did.
I'm gonna at least try and watch that movie before Inside Out comes out. I'm gonna try.
Yeah, man, it's one of the best Pixars, if I do say so myself.
But yeah, what I was saying before we wrap it up is that when I saw Brave in theaters, it was during the day. Yeah. And it was like on a Tuesday. It was on a Tuesday, and there were only 5 kids in the theater. And then there was me by myself because I had just finished my internship, like for that day, my hours, and I was right in Manhattan, so I went ahead and went into the theater, and I was the only like grown dude that wasn't a parent, and there was only like 5 other kids with their parents there, so that felt really.
People look at you funny.
You don't. I sat all the way in the back. So
that's not suspicious at all.
It's not fair. I mean, we were kids when Pixar started, and they're still making great films, and now we're not allowed to watch them.
Yeah.
And Adam's too young. I can't take him yet, so I'm kind of like in this in between period.
It sucks for me too. I don't have like any nephews or nieces or little cousins or anything. I have no little kids in my life to take to see a movie like Inside Out. I have to go. It'll just be a date night with a bunch of kids around. Other people's kids.
Mm-hmm. To remind you why
if that doesn't get you going, then I don't know what does.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we've covered more than we. I feel like we talked about our future episodes plenty enough, and I hope that it's got you really excited.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this summer, despite Jurassic World not shaping up to be what I was hoping it would be, the summer is not doing. It's a pretty good summer. I'm enjoying the summer of blockbusters. So, More interesting discussions to come on The Long Take.
Right here on The Long Take.
That's right.
Yeah.
For Justyn, speaking for Justyn and myself.
Are we talking for each other now?
You have just listened to an episode of The Long Take. Catch you later, sweethearts.
See you next time.
On The Long Take.
Bye, guys.
And we're out.